set up today. We're going to have sort of a formal part of the presentation for a little bit. Arrayed around the room are, thanks to our engineering consultants at Whiteman and Associates, are a variety of views, some of which go back to 2012, which was the last time there was an attempt to get something done with the M40 downtown corridor. You're seeing a lot of slides up here, and some of those PJ Schneal from local Lawton and Planning Commission put the slides together. Some of them are old, some of them are current day, some of them are futuristic from plans that you've got in front of you. Logistics, restrooms down in the museum area there. If you need that, there's coffee and cookies and punch and stuff. Feel free to just get up at any point if you need to and want to, and go grab that. So I'm going to turn things over to Rick Reeves, who's our village president, and he's president of the village council. And I can't remember how long you've been on the council, Rick.
About 18 years.
18 years. He still can walk and talk and say that. So I'm going to hand you the mic, and
okay.
You can do your thing, and then I'll...
Thank you, Paul. Do that. Wow, it's really good to see a big turnout like this. We didn't know what was going to happen on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Feels like the first spring day we've had. But thank you all for coming. And I'd really like to say thanks to this group that has started this visioning process on there. You know, Paul's on the village council as well. He started a Vision 2020 group. He reached out to the community, Lawton community schools. He reached out to businesses, the organizations within the village itself, the Planning Commission, the DDA, and they've been meeting quite a bit over the last 6 months here, and this is the culmination of the outreach into the rest of you in the community. So it's really been an exciting year in our little hometown. Here we have you'll be meeting a little bit later, new Superintendent of Public Works, Todd Hackenberg. Todd, are you here? No, not yet. We have a new Chief of Police, Jeff Mack, if you wouldn't mind standing up, please. You'll get to meet him a little bit later. And for the first time ever, we have a new village manager, and that's Dan Bishop, who's come on board with me. We'll be meeting him here in a moment, too. With the Planning Commission, we had an event to get some more membership with them. We have a full house for all our members out there. That's an exciting thing going on. The DDA has been very active. If you look around the village the last couple of years, just the great decorations that we've seen, the flowers that we have out there, the banners, things such as this, the ideas of the splash pad coming through. There's just a lot of exciting things happening there. Local Lawton has some slides up here as well too. We finished up our upgrade to the wastewater treatment facility. Went in 20 years ago. We put almost $2 million into that. There's an opportunity here. We might be able to reuse the lagoon system there for some trails here in town. Nursery Road, freshly paved, looks really nice out there. 72nd Street's coming up. And we've had several conversations with MDOT, again, for the streetscape project that we have up here and paving the downtown area. It's a long process. We've fallen off the radar of MDOT. We were back on the radar with them again, and we hope to be able to do that. Summerfest, it's been a while since we've had a Summerfest. Sounds like this year is going to be a very exciting year for that. And with the new Vision 2020 committee that's meeting and getting information back from you folks here, I think there's going to be some real exciting things coming out of that too. But if I'd like to introduce the village council, we have, I'm going alphabetical order, Josh, if you wouldn't mind, Josh Appleby. We have Gail Dudek. Gail, would you mind standing up, please? Thank you. And you all know Paul Knutstrup. Thanks, Paul. Dave Lessman, is Dave here today? We all know Judy Peterson's here. Judy, if you wouldn't mind standing up, please. And is Ren Turner here? All right. Well, with that, I'd like to introduce you to Dan Bishop. Hopefully, most of you have met with him already. And he's a pretty gregarious guy. He's been around town quite a bit.
Thank you, Rick. I think gregarious means I talk a lot. You've all met Chief Mack raised his hand. One thing you've heard is there's a lot of new names and faces here now. Everyone knows Todd Hackenberg, but Todd is now the DPW superintendent. Jeff is our new chief of police. I'm the new village manager. And New means new set of eyes, a new way of thinking. One thing when we meet as staff, what we don't fall back on is, well, we've always done it this way, or we've never done that before. Now what we say is, why don't we try something, and then we try to find a way of saying, well, yeah, why don't we do that? So, as Rick was just saying, all of the things going on, some of them are old, some of them are new. And that's how you make progress, is you have to think about things, and I'm kind of rambling right now, I'll wrap it up, but we're going to try new things, and we're not going to take the answer of, we've never done that before as an answer. That's an excuse. Chief Mack is an expert on community policing. What is community policing? What's old is new. Community policing is when the police officers know the kids and know the parents. You all remember back when you were a kid, your mom and dad knew what you did at school before you got home? That's community policing. It's a personal touch. Everyone knows him as Chief Mack. He'll know your kids' names. You'll know him. If something's going on, he might come home and say, hey, do you know what Dan did at school today? And when Dan gets home, he's going to say, how did Mom know that? That's what community is. Todd is taking a lot of the things in the DPW. You've noticed we've been trimming a lot of the trees that hang out, the limbs over the streets. A lot of them are dead. We're going to start cutting down the dead trees. We're removing the limbs that are hanging over the street so that they're not falling down in the middle of an ice storm when it's the least opportune time for us to take care of them. We're going to be proactive in a lot of things. Rick mentioned the M40 project. We're back on the books, 2023. They're going to tear up the whole downtown. We'll keep one lane open, and they'll switch them over is the plan right now. They're also going to remove some of the sidewalk. So now the village has to apply for grants to get the rest of the project done, because we would like to get the streetscape that's over here. You'll see, we'd like to get that done, do it once. Do it while the streets are torn up. We'll fix the sidewalks on that side as well, so that when we're done, we have a nice new downtown that's inviting, safe, and attractive for people to come and visit, and for the people that live here regularly. You like coming through town and say, wow, this really looks neat. Several of you have mentioned already the new banners downtown. That's what we want to do, is we want to draw your attention to our community. We're trying to be proactive in a lot of things, because government doesn't do anything quickly. It takes years for us to line it up, and the thing it takes most time is lining up the money. So if we can be 5 years ahead of the game in our visioning, we can then have a better chance of making it happen. What we're asking you here today to do is to give your input and ideas of what Lawton should look like, not today. 2020 is only a year and a half away, but that's our vision, is starting stuff in 2020. But what we're really asking you to do, what are your kids and your grandkids going to look at in Lawton? What is the vision that you want us to implement today, so that when they're here, they remember their hometown? And that's something, as a relatively new guy to this community, I hear the kids that grew up here, went to school here, born and raised here, moved out, and then they moved back, because they want their kids to have the hometown they grew up in. And that's the vision of this 2020 visioning, is what are your kids and your grandkids going to be left with it? What's our legacy to them? And that's why we need your input, because it takes a community. It's not just the village council or the planning commission or the DDA. It takes the community to be involved for us to be successful. So everyone in this room is important. Your kids are important. Your neighbors are important. It's not just the village that's the Lawton community. We expanded our vision to include the school district, which is a lot of people that don't live in the village, but they come here every day. Their kids come here every day. So your input is very, very important for us to set the plan in place. The village council, the planning commission, the DPW will take your ideas, they'll wrap it up into what's called the master plan, which will then become a capital improvement plan, so that we know where do you want us to spend your money, your tax dollars, over the next several years. Without your input, we're kind of flying blind. That's why we've asked you all here. We care what you think about, because you are our customers. You're the ones that we work for, and we want, again, your kids, your grandkids, to love their community like you do today. So if I can introduce some of the planning commission members. P.J. Schmiel is the chairman. We've got Eric Dudek, Tom Osborne. I'm just going to go around. We got a lot of people here. Dale's on the planning commission. Who am I missing? Wally? Wally, where are you?
Right here.
Oh, right in front of me. How dare you hide in plain sight. And then we have some of our DDA members. We've got, again, Tom Osborne. Tom does double duty. We've got Dale Dudek, who's on the village council as well. We've got Nancy Marks. Mandy, you're on the planning commission, right? I know she's on one of them. I got her on one of them. Anyway, these are people. We got Anna Horner, who is our engineer here. Anna, raise your hand. She with Whiteman. If you have questions, ask, because we care what you think, but that's why we're here today. Oh, Deb. I finally got her name right. I kept calling her Nancy until it was clarified. But anyway, we care what you think. So we've got several things going on. We've got a proposal. We've got 160 acres of natural area out by the wastewater plant. We have an idea that that'd be a nice bike area. Keep it a kind of a conservation area, but still kind of a passive park. We care what you think. Tell us, you think it's a great idea, you think it's a dumb idea. We've got our downtown development plan over here. We care what you think. You think it's a great idea? You think we could do more? You think we could do less? Tell us what you think. We've got pictures of the downtown of things, what they could be. Now, these are all ideas. Nothing is set in stone. That's what we're asking you for. Tell us. What should we do? Where do you want your tax dollars to be spent? So, have I rambled enough, Paul?
It's been great.
It's Sunday.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Okay. Let's go. All right. Just some logistics here. Over behind Rick is a cardboard science project thing where you can, there's a bunch of Post-its in there. So when you think of an idea or something comes up, you just want to make a note of it, stick it over there, that'll be fine. Does everybody have the handouts from that table? If you don't, you may want to get one. Let me tell you what you have. First of all is a background piece that sort of outlines what the visioning process was like, who was involved, and on the back of that is some information about what the group kind of figured out were sort of the assets of the community and some of the challenges we face. There's a 4-page narrative or description, which is an attempt by the group to sort of describe what the next 5 years might look like in our village. It's just sort of one view, but it sort of outlines kind of some of the things that we've been talking about for the last 6 months. There's also a sheet called Who We Are Today, 2017, that was assembled last August. And that's based just on demographic information that's generally available in a variety of sources to kind of give you a feel for the demographics, educational level, income level, housing prices, things like that in the community. And then there's on colored paper, there's a 4-question survey, which we'd like you to take and leave with us before you take off today. There's a box up here that says survey, there's one back there that says survey. If you just fill that out and drop it in. The folks at the free reader would like to know what you think, and we'll take that and create an article, and that way Al doesn't have to get writer's cramp in trying to pick all these notes. The folks who have been involved in the visioning process are scattered around the room, and when we sort of get done with the formal part of this and you end up with opportunities to chat with each other and come up with ideas, we'd like them to take notes so that we can kind of pull all that together and kind of find out where people are. Some formal comments from me. Last fall, when Rick Reeves first came up with this idea and started to refer to this visioning process as a 2020 version, it's 20/20. It's sort of like if you think about your own vision. I think it was a pretty accurate name for the process because to most of us, a 20/20 vision means we can see things close up, the things that are right in front of us every day, and we also have the ability to look further out and see what's coming towards us. So that, it just seemed to fit. So as we thought about that, the close-up stuff is what you see in our community today. And it isn't always pretty. We have some vacant storefronts. We have some vacant properties in the middle of downtown. We have some buildings and properties for sale. We've had a history here of some gradual dilapidation and some homes and some other facilities that have just sort of not had the kind of care and attention that they really need. There's several properties right in the heart of our downtown that people look at and sort of cringe a little bit. One of the things that has started to change as a result of having professional management in the village, Dan has 27 years of experience in managing townships and cities and villages. And having that sort of expertise can help us address some of the issues like blight and substandard housing and those kinds of things. You know, at the same time, even though there's plenty of challenges that we have to face, there's a lot that we can be proud about in our community. We have many assets, and while in a lot of ways we're similar to other communities, we're also unique. We've learned that change in any community comes slowly, and when the change is a sort of a slow, not change for the better, it takes a while to reverse those things. So the idea of looking out 5 years means that many of the things that you see scattered around here and efforts that are currently underway are going to take time to have that happen. But the only way that will happen successfully is if the entire community pulls together and gets involved in the process. So I have to say that even though there are many issues and problems in our community and in others around the state, there are still some pretty cool things that are happening in a variety of places. I have to say that if we wait for Lansing or Washington to do something to help our community, we're going to be waiting a long time. So it's up to us as members of the community to do what we need to do and what we want to do. There are some things that are pretty interesting that are going on at the state level. And the chief one, in my opinion, is a program that's part of the Michigan Economic Development Council, or Corporation, MEDC. And that's what's called the Redevelopment Ready Communities Initiative. One of the slides that is scrolling through here lists the communities in the Southwest Michigan region that are part of that process. There are 96 communities that are sort of in the self-evaluation process and getting assistance from MEDC to do planning. There are 96 other communities in the state who have at least embarked upon the process, and we're one of those communities. There are only 17 communities in the state that have completed the Redevelopment Ready Community process. But what that amounts to is a roadmap that a local community can take over the course of years to improve their form of local government, to improve the involvement of their community, to improve the transparency of local government, to improve services and improve the way we communicate information to our residents. So it's 25 communities in our region are at least in one place or another on that process, and we just joined that group. In the entire Southwest Michigan region, there are only 2 communities that have completed the process and have been certified as redevelopment ready communities. That's the city of Marshall and the city of Kalamazoo. We have, in some ways, a pretty interesting and I think unique identity, to a great extent, in a local community. That identity focuses on the school system. We're blessed with a very good school system in Lawton, and the school district is pretty big, so it takes in a lot of the surrounding area. And whether we're living in the actual village itself, or we live outside and our kids go to school here, or we just live in the area and sort of consider this to be our town, we're all part of that community. As part of the process of the visioning, we identified 8 initiatives that make sense to the group and sort of will help guide us for the next 5 years. One is redesigning and redeveloping our downtown streetscape. Second is seeking productive uses for vacant facilities and properties. Third is proactively addressing blighted buildings and residences. Fourth, developing community assets to enhance recreational opportunities for the community. Next, increasing the visual appeal and walkability of the community. Improving sustainability and prosperity of the local economy, and increasing the participation of the entire community in Lawton's future. There's some things that have sort of started already to happen that are addressing one or more of those 8 initiatives. One is the Reestablishment of Summerfest, and Mandy Lawson has been spearheading that. When she came and presented to the village council and other groups the plan for Summerfest this year, I was amazed at all the things that are planned and underway. And so, way to go, Mandy. This sort of signature event has not been much in the community in the last couple of years. Well, it's going to be again, so that's good news. Another initiative is the funding and development of a splash pad at Lewis Park. There's a slide on here that kind of indicates what that might look like. The progress has been slow simply because a big project like that turns out always to be more complex than you might have thought it was going to be on the front end. Because of the location of where the splash pad is envisioned to go, that's fairly close to the well field for the village. And so we have to work with the DEQ to make sure that we either get a variance or at least site the splash pad in such a way that the drainage, the runoff from it, doesn't interfere with the well field. Personally, in our DDA discussions, would indicate that project probably will be funding the project through this year, and the construction would be either this fall or early spring. Once winter sets in, they can't really build a splash pad. So anyway, that's going to bring a lot of community members, a lot of kids to the Kids Dream Park, Lewis Park. It's going to draw people from the greater area. We've been told that of all of the communities in the region that have play structures such as Kids Dream, this one turns out to be a favorite of a lot of people from all over this part of the state who will bring their families and come and picnic in Lewis Park and have their kids play on that structure. Another initiative will be actively seeking partners to help develop vacant commercial properties, such as the former Lakeview Nursing Home. It's a 120-bed nursing home that's been vacant for several years. We also have the recently closed pharmacy building, and there's other parcels in the village that could be redeveloped either through new construction or adaptive use. Dan talks with the folks at Bronson who own the building that used to be the Lakeview Nursing Home on a regular basis. They would like to sell it, and he's also looking at potential partnerships and funding opportunities and things like that. So there's a way for us as a community to take a hold of a project like that and make something happen. It seems to me that that's a great opportunity for creation of a condominium process by combining rooms and facilities and things like that. And as our population ages, we're increasingly are going to need housing that's appropriate for older people and in some cases low income. So I think there's an opportunity there. Another initiative is, Dan's already talked about, is partnering with MDOT on the redevelopment of the streetscape downtown. We would not be able to undertake projects like this if it weren't for our engineering consultants, Whiteman and Associates. We don't have a big staff in the village. We don't have the expertise that these folks do. And having gotten to know Anna and her colleagues at Whiteman, I'm extremely impressed with the commitment that that organization has to small communities. They have a tremendous amount of expertise in that area that's really a big help. They had also alluded to the property adjacent to Lewis Park. That complex together is 200 acres total, about 40 acres of it is the park itself. And I walked that, part of that 160 acres behind it last week with a consultant who specializes in funding trail projects. And she took a look at it and said, this is eminently doable. This kind of property is perfect for walking trails, hiking trails, cross-country skiing, a variety of recreational uses. It's pretty unusual, as Dan has pointed out, to have a village our size with that large a piece of undeveloped land sitting in it. That's pretty unusual. Another initiative is involving local organizations, churches, clubs, interested citizens in volunteer projects throughout the community. That's how Kids Dream got built years ago. There's many things that can happen that involve our citizens. Seeking ways to enhance the already considerable opportunities and resources of Lawton Community Schools is another important one. Finally, looking for opportunities to improve housing for older citizens and those of us that face economic and social hardship. So that's just a few of the things that we've been talking about and thinking about and discussing during this visioning process. Now, basically, it's up to us as a community to decide what do we want to work on, what are the priorities, and where do we go from here. So, I want to give Chris Rice an opportunity to chat with you about what's going on at the school system. And then what I'd like to do is sort of have questions and answers. And we've got many people here with many answers and probably many questions too. And then just circulate, look at the displays, consume the cookies and other refreshments, because otherwise people will have to take them home and I don't need the additional calories. Let's see. I'll wind things up after Chris talks, but you want to...
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate Paul's leadership with this process. I think those of us that have been a part of it could echo that he's really done a great job of keeping us focused on what our end goals were. And as he said, my name is Chris Rice. I'm the superintendent of schools, completing year 27 with the district. Came in 1991 as a teacher, and one of the things that I immediately recognized with this community was its pride. This is a very, very proud place, as it should be. There's so many great things going on, great people, including this venue, and thank you to the Lions Club, Ryan, for her help getting some of these things set up. What I have here is just a really quick summary of the State of the District report that I gave back in February. I just want to share some of these things with you, some talking points for you, some things that you can communicate to other people that you're aware of or out in the community that might be interested. And I know this might be a little bit difficult to see. Oh, and before I begin, I probably should introduce the school board members that we have present here. So Kathy Drew, our board president, is here. Kathy, and Wally's already been introduced, but he's also a member of the school board. He's the school board treasurer. So thank you for being here. Did any other school board members sneak in while I wasn't working? Okay, good. All right. So the most important thing, the thing that I'm most proud of, we have some of these people here today with the school district, and we employ about 125 people, is our staff. Any organization is only as good as the people that work for it, and we've got fantastic employees. The quote that you see there, the collaborative, intentional, and hungry staff, is something that was actually shared with us by a group of visiting educators that came to perform what's called an instructional rounds process, where they come in, they focus on a problem of practice, and then they provide you with some feedback. And so we were really excited to hear that, and I think that applies across the board to the people that work with your kids and your grandkids, your nieces and nephews, and I know many of you have connections to the school in that way. So really proud of the people we have working here. That is the most important thing in the success of any organization. Some other things. We're continuing as a district to attract out-of-district students. This may come as a surprise to some folks, maybe it doesn't. Over 20% of the kids that go to school in Lawton come from outside the district boundaries. Many of them, most of those from Matawan and Paw Paw. and also Decatur, Marcellus, and all over the Kalamazoo, Portage. But that number, this fall was 213.5 of our kids who now come from out of district. And you can see how that's risen every year since 2013. That's important because, as you know, many of you know that a school's funding is based on its enrollment. We get a foundation grant for every student that attends. And so that's very important data for us, and we want to continue to attract out-of-district students, which is why this work and connecting the role of the school and the community, the vision of the two is so important. I know, again, that's a little bit difficult to see, but it's taking some of that same information and turning it around. That says net change in student FTE. And you can see that this is through schools of choice. So back in 2013, our loss of kids through schools of choice was over 80. And now, this graphic shows it as a loss of about 3 or 4. That's actually not entirely accurate. We actually are about plus 9 or 10. That includes students who go to center-based programs at Van Buren ISD, center-based special education programs. So we've gotten to the point now where through schools of choice we actually bring in more kids than we lose to other schools, which is really difficult when you've got larger school districts, and sometimes the size of the district brings in a little bit more money. Competing with Matawan and Pawpaw and Schoolcraft and some of the schools around us isn't easy, but we're doing a great job with that. We're also very proud of our graduation rate, and there are a lot of factors that this can be attributed to, including the success of our alternative high school, which does a great job getting kids back on track. We know that high school graduation and earning a diploma is absolutely critical in the success of anybody who wants to be a part of the economy. So we're very proud of that, and it's very rare that a school ever achieves a 100% graduation rate. But you can see there that the class of 2015 did in fact have a 100% graduation rate. And some folks would ask, well, has that been done by bringing standards down? And the answer is absolutely not. The standards have continued to increase. So we're proud of that. One of the big focuses for the school has been to provide more rigor and more relevance. If we're going to compete with bigger school districts, we've got to provide rigorous programs, and they've got to be relevant programs. And I'm really proud of this data, and I wanted to share this. So what that says in the small print is, this graph shows the percent of students who enrolled and passed advanced courses at the school and state advanced courses, including advanced placement, international baccalaureate. We do not have any IB, but we do have advanced placement, career and technical education programs, early middle college, and dual enrollment. We are the green bar. 56% of our kids in high school are enrolled in some type of a rigorous educational program. The pink bar there below, 36%, that represents schools with similar demographics to Lawton, and the 29% at the bottom is the state average. So we're really promoting this and trying to do the very best we can to get our kids ready for the workforce. Also proud to share that we now have STEM-related programming in every grade except 8, and we intend to start a program in grade 8 next year. We've kind of phased it in. We started in grades 9 and 10, worked our way up. Just this year introduced Project Lead the Way to our elementary students, and so very, very happy to have that as an opportunity for our kids. And I do want to just draw attention to that very last sentence there, that last paragraph. That may come as a surprise to you or may not, but I'm part of a group of the Southwest Michigan My STEM Advisory Council, and we learned at a recent meeting that Michigan is projected to add 800,000 STEM-related and/or skilled trade jobs by 2024. So those of you with young children thinking of, where is it I want to steer them as far as a possible career, I would certainly encourage you to consider those types of jobs and careers. Also proud of our student-to-teacher ratio. We are the blue bar there. It says our average student-to-teacher ratio last year, 2017, which is the most recent year for which data is available, 17.2. The green bar is Van Buren County, and the yellow line is all schools in the state of Michigan. It's been a focus of the district to keep those class sizes reasonable. And there you can see our elementary state assessment performance. So when you take all of the tests that all of our kids take in grades 3 through 5, that's ELA and math primarily, you put that together. Now again, there's good and bad in this. The good is that we're exceeding the performance of schools in our area and schools in the state. However, when only 43% of your kids are proficient on an assessment, that means we've got work to do across the state. And so we're well aware of that. So what are some of the challenges? I shared some of the points of pride with you. What are some of the challenges that the school district's facing? First of all, especially in this day and age, maintaining safe, secure school environments. Those of you who may have read my article in the recent newsletter that just came out here a week or so ago, when I started as the principal of the elementary school, and those of you that are familiar with the elementary school know that it's kind of a maze the way it's laid out. There were at least 5 or 6 doors that were open every day. They'd open up when the custodian got there. They'd stay open till 8 or 9 at night, and people could come and go. And it wasn't a concern. It's a concern now. Things have changed dramatically to the point where having single access points for schools that are secure and related security issues are very important. So that's our biggest challenge. Attracting school employees is a challenge. And I can tell you that I know that, and Mr. Hitchcock can probably speak to this, but I believe when I was hired here at Lawton, I believe there were over 100 applicants, I'm sure, for my job as a high school social studies teacher. We've had, especially in the sciences, teaching positions where we may have 3 or 4 people apply. I mean, they're just, people are not going into educational careers for a variety of reasons. I won't elaborate on that today. Bus drivers, significant need for bus drivers. If you know of anybody who might be interested, tell them to contact me or Jim Turner back there, our operations director. Custodians, coaches, it's just getting harder and harder to find people who want to work for the school. Continuing to compete, and you can see in blue, and again, this is where the role or the vision of the school and the mission of the school comes together with what's happening here with Lawton 2020. We've got to attract new families to our community. We're only as strong as the people that we're able to bring in and the kids that attend our schools. And then providing facilities that help us meet the challenges listed above there and that support our goals, and doing so in a way that's respectful of our taxpayers. I want to give you just a quick facilities overview because this is important information for you to have. As you know, we've rebuilt or built new middle and high schools back in the early 2000s. And you can see some dates there of the elementary school, originally built in '54, added on to a few times. And I don't want to spend a whole lot, Paul told me I had 5 to 8 minutes, I'm probably pushing that right now. We recently did a facility assessment on the elementary school because it's 60 years old now, and it received a building rating of 60%, with 100% being a perfect facility. It was estimated that renovating it would cost about $8 million, $7.6 million. There's also the old middle high school, and of course that's been there a lot longer. And the upper 2 floors of that building are no longer in use. There's some storage up there, but there's no educational purpose going on. The lower floor does have our alternative high school and also preschool. Really excited to share that just this year we just entered into a performance contract with Honeywell. And what that's done is it allowed us through funds called Qualified Zone Academy Bonds to pursue a 15-year zero-interest loan. Now, we got in on this just in time because part of the President's new tax plan eliminated QZAPs. They're no longer available. So we closed on this thing, I believe it was the 28th of December, because on January 1 it would have no longer been available. The great thing is it brought in $2.6 million that the district is going to pay for out of our general funds. That doesn't impact taxpayers in any way. So we're going to put a new HVAC system in the elementary school with air conditioning, and we've replaced all of the, not all, 80% of the LED lights, or of the lights with LED in the district. So pretty excited about that. Future needs. Well, from the facility assessment that we had done by an architect, it told us that we've got anywhere from $4 to $5 million in needs remaining at the elementary school. Some of those things might include relocating our office. If you've been in the elementary school office before, you know it's just not an effective or efficient place. You've got parents that need services and support. There's a lack of confidentiality. There's just a lot of issues associated with that. So that's one of the things. Other things might be roof replacements, flooring, doors, classroom furniture, bathroom renovations, some of those types of things we're looking at. We're in need of a bus maintenance facility. Of course, we've got to consider replacement of the programs in the LAAC building depending on its future as well. If you're interested in any more information about that, I would encourage you to stay stay in touch with what's happening at the school board level, school board meetings, facility committee meetings, contact me. I'd be happy to put you on an email list or keep you up to date with some of the goings on there. Some next steps. So we are working with an architect to determine exactly what we need at that elementary school, and we're going to be collecting some community input. So again, be prepared for some forums to be scheduled where you can come in and can give us your opinion of our plans. We need to determine how to fund that project in a way, again, that's responsible to taxpayers. We're going to need some folks to be a part of a steering committee, and then we're going to have to generate some community understanding of what those needs are. Kind of changing directions, I do also want to announce that in November of this year, on the ballot will be 4 seats for the school board. Now, rumor has it that 2 of the people who are up for re-election may not choose to run for re-election. And if that's the case, we are going to have 2 openings and then 2 incumbents who I know are going to run as well. We just changed our school board terms from 4 years to 6 years. And that is to promote more longevity. There's very good longevity on our board right now, but we want to ensure that. So at that election, 2 of those terms are going to be 4-year terms and 2 are going to be 6-year terms, after which they'll all transition into 6-year terms. So if you know of anybody who might make a great school board member and is interested, I encourage them to contact myself or my assistant, Denise Cody, for more information. But we do need some folks to step up and fill those roles. All right, Paul, let's roll through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, our target was to have the formal part of this finished up in 45 minutes, and we are going to manage to do that. So the rest of it is pretty much up to you. Refreshments, take a look at what's going on around here in the periphery. Sit and talk among yourselves. Fill out the survey. Use the survey as sort of the guide for a conversation about the community and about where we ought to be going. And just discuss among yourselves, what does the future need to look like? What would you like to see? I think Dan's notion of what would you like to see your grandchildren be doing in the community is a nice way to think about that. And take as much time as you like. We're booked. The room is booked till 5. There are plenty of organizations from the community, local Lawton over here, and Mr. Bober indicates that he has
a bunch of seedling red pines. Local Lawton organized an Earth Day celebration at Pawpaw Library last Saturday, and we got 500 trees that were donated from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. So we've got trees, there's about 40 of them here, and I got a couple of packs of 10. These are free, take free home, and plant it on your lawn.
trees.
They're red pine.
Downtown Development Authority has some information over there. We have some other groups involved in here. So please, folks, enjoy the rest of the time here and talk about the future. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Take care.
He has donated his time to us, charge-free. He's being a consultant for the Village of Lawton. So I would like to have him recognized for that, because we could never have done this. We can't afford it, and we would not find somebody so good. So I just want you to understand the part that he's taken.
If I'd known you were gonna talk about me, I wouldn't have given you the mic.
I already was before you gave me the microphone.
Well, after that ringing endorsement, I'll take your Are there any questions that anybody has that they would like answers to before you get into the discussion process? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm Karen Milburn, and I don't live in the village. I live right on the edge of the village, but I've lived here all my life. My question would be, when you talk about making trails and all these wonderful ideas, which they're tremendous, I'm thrilled to hear the possibilities for Lawton. It's wonderful. When you see some of our surrounding towns, their storefronts dwindling, on a lot of our neighboring communities, it's all over this area, and it's a concern, and I really appreciate people having some vision and looking forward and trying to go forward with more attractive things for Lawton. It's a great idea. But my question is, now I don't pay any village taxes, but how do you get grants to do these kind of things? Is that how funding would come for, and how have the other towns done that?
Yeah, there are a variety of sources for funds for projects such as the trail project. There's a variety of ways to get funding to convert something like the former nursing home. You can't rely on increasing taxes to the local community to do things like that. There's federal grants, there's state grants, there's all kinds of things. That's one of the main things that Whiteman and Associates has expertise in, is identifying funding sources, providing us with contacts to create development partners, and folks who are interested in doing projects like that, and not having to rely on local taxes. Because there's only so much in the well there, so, and another question, anybody? Okay, over here, we have some sign-up sheets if you want to, sign up to volunteer with contact information. On the survey sheet, the colored form there, if you are interested in being part of an email group or receiving email information, please put your name and your email address on the back, and we'll try and build sort of an email group to kind of get the word out on what's going on and those kinds of things. And, spend some time talking with each other. Yes, Chris?
I just want to remind people, if you've got friends, family, whoever who want to be a part of this today, and couldn't be, we are going to repeat this again Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. at Lawton High School in the cafeteria, so please feel free to share that information.
Thank you. Yeah, good reminder. We're going to do all this again. You can come again if you want, and some people will have to. Okay? Any other questions? All right, community conversation.